All right, so we're here on Zoom. It's a little delay, but it's all good. I'm going to share my screen. So, video of me, just kidding. Um, Here we are. Okay, perfect, y'all. All right, we'll exit here. Sweet. TC Spiritual Shepherd. Here, I'm going to go live here on TikTok as well. Let's see. All right, y'all. So welcome to live. Today we're going to be getting into building our legacies, building legacy. So this should only be about a 33-minute video, maybe a bit longer, maybe even a bit shorter. But today, ultimately becoming your own bank is a very powerful way, and a lot of people don't realize, and it's actually relatively pretty easy to become your own bank. Um, One of my favorite references is Brandon Clark. You guys can seek out Brandon Clark here on YouTube, or if you guys, yeah, just seek him out on YouTube. And it's referring to IULs, which is ultimately building an asset. You being your own bank is an asset. It's actually kind of a liability. It is a liability when you have to go to someone else to deposit your own money into someone else's bank account, into someone else's bank. It's very interesting. Now, I know that there's like a mediator and all these different types of things, but imagine you could do this for yourself. So now, you guys already kind of see like a whole vision here on YouTube. If you guys are just chiming in on TikTok, welcome, welcome. If you guys want to see the full presentation, full disclaimer, this is for educational entertainment purposes only. You guys can view this here on YouTube, the full presentation, horizontal style, landscape style. Here on TikTok will be something that is just vertical. I'll turn these into other different videos as well as too. A lot of what I like to do is add something to. So stickers, pretty sure there's like a way to you can add photos. So we're gonna do this pretty quick. No, I don't want a background. Uh, Stickers? No. Enhance? No. There's genuine away. Give me just one sec where we're um so here we go. I know that I could do this. Um, Draw and guess, AI wallpaper, flip camera, pause. There's like a green screen pic that you can always pop up. I always used to pop up green screens. I wonder if it's like so this is why I come on a few minutes early. You know what it is. Live recordings. Hmm. Like, why don't they make it easier to post pics? Draw. No. Like, homies. Y'all got every motherfucking button here on TikTok, but you don't got something that just says post pic, add pic, sound effects, stickers, music, background. I'm not trying to do it as a background though. I'm trying to do it as like a motherfucking like right here, like I normally do. Effect. Okay, effect. Here we go. And it's under effect. I'm getting there. Save, save, search. We'll go to green. See, this is okay. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Boom, right there. All right, so we are going to be talking about legacy. So I'm actually going to Search. Yeah, we got it, y'all. We here. So think about like the legacy like this. This is super interesting. This is the Merovingian um legacy. Really interesting. So this is what we know as the Merovingian. So this is a line. This is ultimately a line. I'm not going to post this here, but this is just an example, guys. Is this is an example of a line of a generational line that they run the world. They run the world. I'm just letting you guys know, like some of their family line run the world, and then they're interconnected with other different beings. So let's keep going. Effects. Gonna draw it out. Fucking we the men in black up in this shit. Men in black up in this. There we go. You guys want to see my badge? You guys want to see my badge? Here's my badge. There's my badge, y'all. If you guys want to see my badge, there's my badge. So today we're talking about legacy. We're talking about becoming private. So what we know is the men in black. A lot of people actually kind of, use this term. It's obviously a loosely expressed term, but this is a powerful thing. So what you're doing is as you are becoming your own bank, meaning that you're going to invest into an index universal life insurance policy, not necessarily a term policy. I'm not saying that you don't just do that one type of thing, but ultimately an index is referring and connected to the word indices or indexes. Okay. So let's actually give this to you guys. I'm going to go to my business one. Living in the private. I'm looking for living in the private. Let them. Oh, here we are. We'll do this one. This one's good. We're actually talking about it. So what we're talking about, guys, is we're talking about index universal life insurance policies. I was just messing with the men in black, but um, ultimately, y'all, index universal life insurance policy. This is connected to the indexes or the indices or what we know as the S&P 500, which is also connected to the trading markets or the indices. Another indice would be like NAS 100. So it'd be the top 100 companies. That's actually what I trade. So I actually trade NAS 100. Some people know, um, some people are connected through a multitude of other different things, such as futures, etc. So this is not for the faint of heart. This is not going to be necessarily like super, super easy for you guys to be able to comprehend, but this is actually a really important thing. So an index universal life insurance policy, guys, is ultimately becoming your own bank. So the S&P 500 is connected to trading accounts. This is how you ultimately become your own bank. Imagine putting $100, $200 into an index universal life insurance policy as a bank, meaning that you can draw that back out. Let me say that one more time. You can draw that back out. Okay. And because you can withdraw that or you can loan yourself that money, you will still make it. So when it's indexed, it actually means that it will stay at that type of number. So what does that mean? That means like if I put $200 in for 5 months, okay, that's $1,000, and then that will build upon itself. Now I can withdraw from that $1,000, but it still looks like there's $1,000 in the account and trades as if there's still $1,000 in the account. And then therefore that is the perpetuation cycle where you start to create compound interest or interest in the money that is covering the asset. So ultimately, y'all, $2,000 in your IUL. So like what I would say is like if I invest $1,000 or $2,000, whatever you guys make. So say you make 3,000 a month or 5,000 a month or whatever it is. If you guys are at that percentage, I would say put $1,000 or $2,000 into your IUL because you can borrow against it. So it's just a bank. It's your own bank. Instead of you paying Chase, instead of you paying Bank of America or anything, you're just going to develop it yourself. And that's actually relatively pretty easy. It's actually relatively pretty easy to set up. Okay, you pretty much only have to go through one or two people, and it's relatively easy. So let's say that you put $2,000 or $1,000 into your IUL. Let's say 2,000 for easy. That is what you'd say is your income. Okay, so your income, and then you're putting it in your bank. Okay, and so that is actually going to exponentially grow. Okay, it's going to hit a certain marker. It's going to exponentially grow, and we want it to cross the point of no return. That is actually a real thing. We want it to cross the point of no return. The point of no return is ultimately that there's a runway, and when you're on a runway and you hit 70% of that runway and you're going 300 miles an hour, you have to take off or your ass is going to crash. That's the point of no return. So it's like we are going to elevate that we are going to go past the point of no return where we are going to elevate. And that is what compound interest is. It's interest in the money that covers you, which is your life insurance policy. You can loan yourself that money, which means that you don't necessarily have to pay that back ever in your life, by the way. You don't ever have to actually technically pay that back because the death benefit will actually out benefit that process. And because that, what will happen is it will pay whatever thing that you were whatever you didn't pay back, it will cover through the death benefit, and then that will go to what? The trust, because we're not going to have our kids or our girl or anybody be, and there's a reason for that because they're technically still going to be the beneficiary, but it's a greater step is we're going to have the trust be the beneficiary, the death benefit beneficiary to our index life insurance policy, the IUL. Why? Because all the money will go into the trust and it will avoid probate. It will be completely private. Because it will be completely private, it will avoid probate, all these different types of things. Who's the beneficiary to the trust? It will be one of your sons or daughters or your wife. Okay. And so from that process is that because you're cultivating that, is that you are starting to elevate. And as you elevate, even when you pass away, you're still impacting your family. So you max out your IUL. You can refer to Brandon Clark on YouTube. Borrow from the cash value. Okay, the death benefit will cover any cash value. Infinite funding is what we call it. Infinite banking and brokerage, borrowing from self or loaning to self. Insurance is a scam. I'm not even an insurance agent, so that's cool. Pay so much, then something bad happens, and y'all don't cover anything. I'm not an insurance agent. This is just for educational and entertainment purposes only. Do not project. I know like do whatever you will. Um and if you don't like it, you can go to another live. That's totally cool too. Set up beneficiaries to the IULs. The beneficiary would be your trust. So this is structure. This is estate planning. This is not just life insurance policies. This is estate planning. This is structuring a full conglomerate of how you're supposed to live your life. Don't, didn't ever refute it. The trust holds all the IULs, and the death benefit goes into the infinite banking system of the trust. So the trust is, so let's say that you open a trust in your name or you open a private business trust. And then ultimately from this process is that is what we call an entity. We actually call that a corporation or a person. If you look at an entity like a bond note, a birth certificate, is a bond note, and that's what we say this is a person. And then it's the same thing with like a C corp or an S corp. It's just a bond note that says this has value, and then we call that a corporation or a person. So ultimately, it's the same thing with the private business trust is because it's a private business trust, what you're actually ultimately going to do is you are going to put your life insurance policy inside of that trust because the trust actually has the controlling interest in that life insurance policy. That trust now has whatever the death benefit value of it now. So let's explain this. So if you pay $100 to $200 for your own life insurance, I'm not saying sign up with me because I don't do that. I don't even know how to do that. I just know that this works. Okay, this is the system that works for me. To me, as Bruce Lee said, to me, it works. Okay. But ultimately, what you'll do is the trust holds all the IULs, And then all of those benefits go right into the trust. So this is like if I open an IUL, I open my girls an IUL, I open my family an IUL, all these different types of things. And then the trust actually owns the IUL. See, this is where people go wrong is like they just stop at the life insurance. They just stop at the life insurance. They want to take the smallest, they want to make the smallest amount of decisions. They want to do the least amount of work, all this type of stuff. This type of process is actually relatively easy, but you got to be patient. Like do it for a year or two and actually see how elevated your life will become. So, what do? With the index universal life policy, let's say that you put 100 or $200 in a month. That technically equates to about $1 million, maybe $1.5 million life insurance policy when your trust has controlling interest, I don't like to say owns, but when it has controlling interest of that life insurance policy, that life insurance policy is now, I'm sorry, that trust is now worth $1.5 million for that individual's life insurance policy. Now you take this trust, which is what we call a bond. You take that trust and you say, yes, this is my private business trust, da 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 da. Or even if it's not even a private, it's just a trust. Okay. And what you do is you say, I'm going to get a credit card, or I'm going to borrow against this, or yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I have all this value. I have all these shares. I have all this value in this trust. I like to borrow against it so then I can purchase more assets. So it's using assets against assets to purchase more assets. That's really what we do. Okay. And so this is a powerful thing. Because you're actually doing this, the trust holds all the IUL. So you're not going to just do an IUL for yourself. You're probably going to do an IUL for your girl, probably going to do an IUL for all your sons and daughters, and probably earlier than you ever did because of the intelligence and knowledge that you developed. Okay. Now, most people would say the death benefit's going to go to their wife or to their spouse or to their, to their sons or to their daughters, stuff like this. A lot of people think of it like that. But no, it'll be a family trust. The family trust, all the benefits, who's the beneficiary? The trust. So if you have seven sons and daughters, and all of them have an index universal life insurance policy, what you'll actually do is you'll funnel that and you'll channel all that beneficiary power, the death benefits, which are multi-million dollar death benefits, will go into that trust. So then this is what we call the waterfall method or the infinite banking method, a multitude of other different things like this. Okay, this is not necessarily a bad or a good thing or whatever. It's the way that you set it up, the way that you set it up. All right. The trust is in its own class. It is actually referred to as its own class. Okay. So the beneficiary of the trust is your sons and daughters. So that's ultimately that the whoever has the actual access to the trust has access to the entire conglomerate of what the trust has controlling interest in. Are you seeing me yet? Are you seeing me yet? So nobility is what we see as nobility or being noble is title of deed or controlling interest in one's name. So one's name means that because you have nobility, meaning that you are noble. So that means like you're the godfather or you're the godmother, if you really want to take it that way, or um you're the main leader in your family. You're the main source of leadership in your family, or you're very close about to inherit the same type of nobility and leadership in your family. So you're either the godfather or you're about to inherit and be the heir, or you're the inheritance to becoming the godfather of your family. Okay. So this is also where you can get into living private. So claim of name, claiming the name, UCC1, claiming a lien over the debtor known as fill in your name. Okay. Firstborn, or what you'd say you can even divide it evenly amongst all family members of the trust. Each family member has an IUL in their name. So this is my own notes. This is not ChatGPT. I freaking literally like that's the problem with this day and age is like when you're on a video, people just be thinking that you're reading off ChatGPT. And I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but I'm just saying like I'm just raw and authentic. I would rather just do it myself. Do I use ChatGPT? Yes, but not for freaking everything. Okay. Every family member has an IUL in their name at birth. What this actually does, this covers the birth certificate because that same type of thing is indexed on. That's exactly what they do too. So it's indexed. So they're trading your bond note, they're trading your birth certificate note since probably like 3 weeks from when you're born, maybe 5 weeks, depending on how long public commerce takes, but they're probably going to try to monetize that thing as quickly as possible. So they monetize the birth note. They have the witnesses or the informants, the pair that rents, the parents. They have the doc. Okay. They have you as the beneficiary. That's why it's signed as that. Okay. So ultimately, what you're doing in the private is that you would set your own private title deed. So you'd have your own private title deed, which is just like you'd say like a live birth. So like a private title of live birth. That's really what you do. And you'd have a couple of witnesses. You'd have it notarized, signed and sealed. That's a live document. You could prove that, and that's a private document, 1,000%, because you have multitudes of different witnesses, and then those witnesses, I would say, do two witnesses, okay? And because of that, or two informants, but two witnesses. Informant is such a public commerce word, and same with occupation and stuff like this, because occupation means they're occupants or they occupy land, which, okay, whatever. Now, the trust is signed and sealed. So every member has an IUL at the name in their name at birth. So beneficiary as the trust, your asset protected because that life insurance policy is what? Protecting your life or insuring your life. You're an asset, so it's protecting the asset, it's insuring your life. So it's ensuring that we can at least protect this life. And why? Because you're an asset. That's what it is. You have to see it that way. If you don't see it that way, then you're doing it wrong. But if you see it that way, that can actually be passed down. So for me, I would say like I discovered this around 27, maybe like 26 and a half. And I actually started, okay, becoming your own bank. What can you do? So you open an index universal life insurance policy in your name. You don't put the death benefit towards any one person. You put it towards a trust, which is what? A conglomerate of persons or a conglomerate of corporations or a conglomerate of LLCs, a conglomerate. Okay? It's a multitude. I'm gonna go pause this for a second. Hey, what's up, mama? I'm doing well, hanging in there. Um, no, just give me a sec. Um, Hold on. What do you mean you didn't know if I was okay yesterday? Oh, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, and to like I was watching this thing last night and it's I was like, I checked that. Yeah, I know she absolutely loves it. Oh yeah. I mean, every day she talks about it or yeah. She's yeah, I've found her. Yeah. He's the one we prayed for. And two, I had it was kind of like she's like a motivational speaker and I was listening and and it was like anything that you've ever used to go through or had been through, it's all done now. It's all healed. There's no reason and so I'm like, and I already know this, but it's great to hear I could just move on and be, yeah. I mean, and it's just great. Like I'm literally for you, but you and Danny both know your past is your past and they're minor. Exactly. In your life. Exactly. Like focus on right here, right now. Kurt, that's one of the things he says over and over. That's all growth. Yep. Those successful people, they all say, if you don't have a bleep in your life, then how did you grow? And God says that. Mm-hmm. Don't, I mean, where we grow the most is in our struggles. I hate to say that, but it's true. So true. I got it. When things aren't going so smooth, God, I need you. And that's where we draw closer to him. And we have to remember, even in the good times, to draw closer to him because, again, he's sovereign over everything. He's watched out. He knows your past. He knows your future. He knows you better than you know you. Mm-hmm. And that's hard to believe. That is hard to believe. It's hard to wrap our head around that with God.